All right, welcome back to the Road to Cape Point Challenge 2022, season 2 of the series, episode 1. I'm a bit delayed. Usually I am, well, at least not usually. Last year I started recording these when I first started training, as I should probably do, but I have had no end of excuses of why I haven't done it, and none of them were good. The main was the fact that my bicycle, which is behind me here, was in a different position, and so therefore I needed to move it, and I just hadn't anyway. So I finally did do that. Some life updates in general. 2022 has been a fantastic year. I've actually got a couple ideas for content that I'd like to create, which I always have, that I never do, and the plan is hopefully for that to happen. But the majority, or the biggest change this year, is I have a kitten. Her name is Sophina. She is fantastic. I'm very glad. Funny story how I got her. Maybe one day I'll make a video about it. But this video is about the Road to Cape Point Challenge. So this is an introductory video, kind of going over what I've done so far, how my plan for training has changed from last year. I learned a little bit of stuff this year just with regards to endurance and base, and I'm wanting to kind of mix it up a little bit because last year I ended up getting sick twice on the Road to Cape Point Challenge. And so this year it's really about focusing on recovery and making sure I can be far more consistent instead of going for these huge goals. And so far it's been great. But I think obviously a little bit more consistency is important. Yeah, so basically it's actually week 3 for me, or the end of week 3. I started training at the beginning of this month. Last year I had quite a bit of base through winter, so obviously I didn't have that this year. So I've kind of been working more on the whole idea of paddling for longer and not necessarily faster. I have a watch with a Garmin now. I mean, it's not a Garmin, I have a Garmin with a heart rate monitor. Sorry, my cat's gonna jump on that thing and then move the camera. So I have a watch with a heart rate strap now. So I've been really focusing on long sessions, hour and a half plus, and then making sure my heart rate is below like 130. I do tend to have quite a high heart rate. If I'm doing a 5 kilometer or 10 kilometer race, it's very, very normal for me to be averaging 180, 185, which is just not sustainable over a 4-hour race. So I am, instead of, which is my internal desire, is to go fast quickly, I've really been focusing on easing that back. One important thing that I'm keeping in my mind is like the 80-20 principle, where 20% of my sessions a week are hard and at 80%, and then the rest are at like 20%. So I've been working on that, and it's been going quite well. It's end of week 3, and I feel really good. I'm feeling stronger every time I get on the water, recovering well. And you know, another thing that I'm thinking about is obviously also just nutrition and making sure I'm eating well and all that kind of thing. Okay, well, she's on the table. That is what it is. So just to relate the first month back to last year, where was I? So this time last year on the 20, what is it today? I believe it is the 28th of October. I was in week 7 of training, but also last year I was sick for 3.5 weeks. So essentially I'm basically exactly where I was last, and now obviously my tablet is refreshed and I can't see what I'm talking about. Okay, cool. So last year I did 124 kilometers in the month of October. This year I'm going to do paddle tonight and a long paddle tomorrow morning. I'm at 101k so far, so I'm expecting that to get to 120 again. So essentially I'm exactly where I was last year, but I'm also feeling stronger than I was. Again, I did get the jab in October of 2021, which also then threw me off for a week. So essentially not much has changed, and I ended up pulling out a 21st last year. So while I have this desire to say, listen, maybe my goal for this year is to come top 20, I also am aware that the training isn't going to be a priority for me, just because work and all that kind of thing. Really, the main goal is to do this consistently and to have a race that I'm proud of at the end of it. I was very proud of last year's race, but I kind of gave up in the last 10Ks just because I blew, and obviously mentally and stuff like that. So that's obviously to avoid that this year is really the main goal. And if I walk away with the top 20, that'd be phenomenal. There's also potentially a chance for me paddling in a double with a good friend of mine. to be his first Cape Point, and I think it might be fun to do doubles with him, and kind of give him that first Cape Point. But yeah, so main differences this year is I'm really focusing on that endurance aspect of it, really focusing on being able to be in the boat for 3.5+ hours, and feel really comfortable with that, nutrition and all that kind of stuff as well. Been experimenting with different kinds of juice, and also being aware of how sleep affects training. Yeah, and then those will be the more technical things that I think I'll start experimenting close to December. But briefly, October, base month, just actually getting into what it's like to be consistently training. I mean, you really have to live your life around it. And as when I was younger and training far more often, it was almost second nature. I didn't really have to think about the fact that I was going to bed at 9. It just happened. And obviously over the last 3 years, not doing that consistently and realizing like, okay, cool, Luke, you have to actually get into this routine. So that's really been what October's been about. And hopefully just fine-tuning that in November. And I think, I mean, if I do a solid 6 weeks up until Cape Point, I will be in a very good position. I mean, just looking at how the last 3 weeks have gone. Maybe not top 20 material, but definitely better than I think I would have raced it last year. I mean, last year I was fortunate in the sense that quite a few people ahead of me were struggling, so I managed to do quite well. So yeah, that's generally it. I'd like these to be a little more structured. I think from next week I'll be going into the details of my sessions. But briefly, for this week, I did a 30-minute session on Monday. I was really just struggling to get into it. I had a live 7 competition on Saturday that kind of broke me. And then Wednesday I did 15.5 kilometers steady, literally just laps around Fisher. I'm trying to spend more time in my surf ski than my riverboat this year. And then obviously this year, tonight's going to be Sea Dog. I'm actually on the committee for organizing Sea Dog, so it's a lot more admin than I would have thought, but yeah. And then tomorrow morning I'm going to go for a long paddle, and then then Sunday take a bit of a rest. But yeah, so that's just generally it. Welcome. If you're gonna watch these series too, that'd be fantastic. And yeah, I think I'm excited. I just entered Cape Point this morning, which is what the motivation to record the video is. So yeah, looking forward to sharing this journey with you, and having some valuable data at the end of it to make next year's Cape Point even better. So yeah, welcome to the road to Cape Point for 2022. Have a good one. Ciao.